Greetings all. Why can't the Emperor of Mankind be saved? In the expanse and grim universe of Warhammer 40,000, the Emperor of Mankind stands as a paragon of power and sacrifice, yet paradoxically remains confined to the Golden Throne, a living corpse tethered to the survival of humanity. The question of why the Emperor cannot be saved, why the greatest being in human history is left in an unchanging vegetative state, invites deep exploration. This video offers a detailed examination of that predicament, unspooling the interconnected tapestry of the Golden Throne, the Webway project, the Astronomican, and the relentless forces of chaos that together deny the Emperor's salvation. At the heart of the Imperium's survival rests the Emperor on the Golden Throne. This ancient device, both a life-sustaining mechanism and a psychic beacon, was constructed before the dark days of the Horus Heresy. The cataclysmic civil war saw the Emperor grievously wounded as he confronted Horus, his favoured Primarch turned traitor, aboard the battleship Vengeful Spirit. The duel was more than a clash of arms, it was a cataclysm of psychic power that left the Emperor on the brink of death. Unable to survive unaided, he was interred upon the Golden Throne, which functions as a psychic life support system. Yet this salvation was cruelly limited. It preserves the Emperor's physical form in a state between life and death, no longer fully aware or able to intervene in the affairs he once ruled. This shadow of existence serves a critical function. The Emperor's psychic presence powers the Astronomican, an immensely powerful psychic beacon hosted in Terra. The Astronomican's light pierces the veil of realities to guide the Imperial starships as they navigate the otherwise impenetrable and hostile warp. Without it, the Imperium would face near complete isolation, rendering its stellar domains incapable of coordination, trade, or warfare on a galactic scale. The Emperor's life, thus, is the linchpin of the Imperium's stability, making his death or full passage a threat of apocalyptic magnitude. Considering the broader context of the Emperor's failed attempts at establishing a new, safer future for humanity, before his long comatose vigil, the Emperor conceived an ambitious project, the Webway. His vision was to grant humanity access to the Eldar Webway, an ancient labyrinthine set of tunnels through the warp that enabled instantaneous travel across vast distances, devoid of conventional warp hazards. If successful, this would have liberated the Imperium from its dependence on warp travel, and consequently the Astronomican, freeing mankind from the capricious dangers of the warp and the depredations of chaos. Yet the Webway project came to a tragic ruin. During experiments to open portals to the Webway beneath Terra, the forces of chaos exploited these rifts, infiltrating the nascent passages. The breach allowed a surge of demonic entities to invade, culminating in the catastrophic siege of Terra. The Emperor's forces successfully repelled the incursion, but the cost was immense. The resulting damage to the Webway tunnels forced the Emperor to seal them off permanently. This failure condemned humanity to perpetual reliance on the Astronomican's light, tethered forever to the Emperor's psychic endurance on the Golden Throne. The impermanence of the Golden Throne's life support introduces another layer of complexity. It slows the inevitable decay of the Emperor's physical form but cannot reverse the damage inflicted. The Emperor is trapped in an eternal stasis that could not be maintained indefinitely. The mechanisms sustaining him require constant specialized attention, through painstaking maintenance of the throne and sacrifices to bolster his psychic link, making any attempt at revival fraught with risk. Removing him from the throne would not restore his strength, but most likely bring about rapid death, losing the Astronomican and plunging the Imperium into darkness. Moreover, the Emperor's confinement is not merely physical. He is also spiritually and psychically shackled by the unending war against chaos. The forces of the warp, desperate to snuff out the Emperor's influence, continue to assault the Imperium's psychic defenses. The Golden Throne acts like a bulwark, preventing incursions by demonic and chaotic powers that would otherwise overrun the very fabric of reality. Within this grim calculus, the Emperor's survival in this diminished state both serves as a shield and lighthouse.
Save the Emperor is to save humanity's last flicker of hope. Yet the chasm of time and war have conspired to render this impossible.
Chaos itself is an insidious antagonist in this scenario, representing the manifestation of humanity's darkest fears, ambitions, and subconscious entropy. The Emperor's war against chaos is both eternal and cyclical, having begun in the earliest days of the Great Crusade and continuing unabated in the current era. Chaos marks the fateful boundary between salvation and ruin, and attempts to dislodge the Emperor from the Golden Throne risk jeopardizing humanity's strongest bastion against its influence. Thus, paradoxically, the Emperor's incapacitation is both a curse and a necessity, a sacrifice maintained to prevent a far grimmer fate. The attempts to save the Emperor, whether through advanced technology, psychic rituals, or military discovery, pose dilemmas that the Imperium has yet to surmount. The machine priests, psychers, and scholars of the Adeptus Mechanicus work ceaselessly to understand and replicate the Golden Throne's secrets, yet progress remains agonizingly slow and often counterproductive. Each generation edges closer to technological breakthroughs, yet finds the chasm widening as the warp's malign influence becomes more aggressive. This is the illustration of irony. The spiderweb of dependence the Emperor's incapacitation creates further increases humanity's exposure to the warp threats. In intellectual terms, the Emperor's plight in the Warhammer 40K verse encapsulates the tragedy of boundless sacrifice. It is the punishment of eternal vigilance, the cost of forging a fragile peace from ruthless conquest. His inability to be saved is a narrative and metaphysical boundary. It reinforces the Imperium's thematic core that salvation is never assured, and that ultimate sacrifice often demands lingering suffering. This stasis has influenced the Imperium's culture, government, and military. Despite the Emperor's unyielding stillness, his ideological presence permeates every facet of the Imperial society. The cult of the Emperor divinizes him as the God Emperor, casting his continued existence on the Golden Throne as a miraculous and sacred. This quasi-religious veneration fills the psychic and moral void left by his physical presence, left by his physical absence, knitting together billions of lives in a fragile collective hope against the encroaching darkness. In conclusion, the Emperor cannot be saved because the very act of saving him, reviving him from the Golden Throne, would likely annihilate the Astronomican, shatter the fragile psychic infrastructure that holds the Imperium together. The failure of the Webway project trapped humanity in a dependence on this precarious system, and the omnipresent threat of chaos demands the Emperor's constant psychic presence as a shield. His incapacitation, while tragic, thus becomes a linchpin in the preservation of humanity itself. In the relentless and unforgiving universe of Warhammer 40,000, the Emperor's fate is a testament to not only his immense sacrifice, but to the brutal reality that defines an Imperium perpetually teetering on the brink of annihilation. As the ancient adage of the Imperium warms, there is only war. The Emperor remains bound to his Golden Throne, not as a triumphant sovereign restored to glory, but as an indomitable sentinel, mortal yet eternal. This archive has now been fully decoded. Continue your journey into the librarian with the video displayed on screen. The vast wealth of the archives continues to reveal new knowledge of the dark history of the 40K verse. In the grim dark of the far future, there is only war.